Oh man, what has my coach and y'all's pastor? He's still y'all's pastor. Okay, you can't disown him. Don't disown him now. Okay, you were owning him when you were in the comments with that vitriol, calling everybody haters. He was y'all's pastor. Don't disown him now. Just because you're starting to see the kinks in the armor, just because you're starting to see the cracks in the facade, don't disown him now. He was y'all pastor then. He's y'all pastor now. Okay, I don't know about forevermore. Okay, but what has y'all's pastor been up to? Is that right? Oh, he had Megan in there cooking on her feet while everybody else was sitting. The boys were sitting at the little toddler table eating. And of course, my coach was sitting on his big old on the couch eating. Okay, and Megan was the only one that was on her feet. We're talking about Megan, the hernia afflicted Megan. Megan, the one that suffered for 2 years with that hernia before she got some attention. And she's the one that's supposed to be resting up and recuperating from her surgery. Is that right? And she's the only one that was on her feet. Is that right? Okay. Was she dropping some hidden messages? Is that right? So she talked about how the other people in the room were enjoying her meal. The meal that she slaved over. Okay? They were enjoying her meal, and then because they enjoyed it, then finally she can sit down. And she's like, Tim, finally I can sit down. As in, viewers, help me. So I can finally sit down and enjoy the fruits of her labor. Yeah, she could have chosen any other words. Okay, but she dwelled on the fact that it was labor. Okay, which means that it was not light duty. It was not easy. Okay, it took more than a few minutes. Okay, to cook that chicken, prepare that bacon, assemble that cheese, melt the cheese, serve the boys, grab the toddler table, serve the big old one in the room, put that plate in his lap, get the beverages for the boys, keep little Benjamin occupied. Oh my goodness, she's talking about labor, and she means it. When she was talking about labor, she really meant it. Okay, and so you ready, Tim writers? All you guys see is the success of the meal. That's all you see. All you see is the kids cheering like, it's the best food ever. Okay, all you see is little Benjamin going berserk because he's eating some food that is probably not suitable for his system yet. Okay, that's probably why he's going berserk. All right, we know that kids, their behavior is often a reflection of their diets. Okay, and so you're talking about little Benjamin being a crazy man. I'm sure it was not simply because the food tasted good to him. Okay, I'm sure there was something in that food that offset his system, whereby he was trying to deal with it one way or the other. Okay, but good gracious, Megan, a cry out for help from Megan. Is that right? The fruits of her labor. And so she implied that the boys eating was not fruitful. That was the message there, okay? Seeing her big old husband sitting on the couch with crumbs in his lap, that was not fruitful. Okay? And so she's saying, I can finally enjoy the fruits of my labor. Okay? The message is free and clear. It's an obvious message. Okay? She was laboring. She wasn't seeing the fruit. Everybody else was enjoying fruit. But not Megan. But oh my goodness. So the work goes on. Even in her recovery, the work goes on. Is that right? Is that right? Okay. Did I miss anything else? Anything else? Nothing. Okay. Well, all right. Before I get to my reaction to the recent P2P nodcast, where my coach talks about being fruitful and multiplying. And oh my goodness, while we're on the subject of being fruitful, I guess it's no coincidence that his nodcast is also about being fruitful and multiplying. But before I get to that, I have to recognize you guys that have been active in the comments. Keep that commentary going. Keep that dialogue flowing both ways. I would like to recognize you ready Tim writers, you steady Tim supporters. I would like to recognize you guys. but you guys have been crickets lately. You've been crickets. I haven't heard much lately. I haven't heard much, okay? All right, and so I guess I have to look to some of you new heavies, some of you newly recruited heavies, okay? Some of you guys that have only been watching the IAG for a couple of weeks, a couple of videos, a couple of months, okay? And so I guess I have to look to some of you guys, okay? Some of you guys that are still naive about this whole IAG/Resurrection Ranch hustle. All right, but you guys have been quiet. But my comment area is always open. It's open for you guys. When you get a chance, get up in there. Yes, Tim should not be the only one in the comment area, other than my viewers and my subscribers. Tim should not be the only one in there, burning with his burner accounts. He should not be the only one in there. Some of you heavies need to get up in there too. Okay, and I guess I'm talking to the new heavies. But okay, all right. So I'm going to here. I'm going to give my reaction to the recent P2P nodcast, where Tim talks about being fruitful and multiplying. So I'm going to give my reaction to that video here. Early on, Tim, he tells us that he was watching the movie Risen a couple of days ago. There's no telling with Tim, with considering how old, obsolete, and stale this footage is. There's no telling when that actually occurred. But he says it was a few days ago or a couple of days ago. But he's watching the movie Risen. And I'm like, okay, now there was a rumor, Coach, that you were getting your biblical teachings from children's Bibles. Okay. But I guess you follow that up with the fact that you're getting a lot of your biblical education from movies. From movies, Coach? Really? As an ordained pastor, as someone that was supposedly strong in the ministry, the Walk by Faith ministry, and supposedly teaching folks about evangelism. Come to find out, you've been getting your education from children's Bibles and from movies. Is that right? Okay. And I have to surmise that the rest of your education is coming from the YouTube. Is that right? Okay. Okay. Now, considering that most pastors study on a regular basis, they stay up on their word. They study their word more than 5 minutes every few days or 10 minutes a week. They stay up on their Bible. They study their Bible. They fellowship with other ministers, with other pastors, with bishops and what have you. Other folks, they fellowship with them and they learn from each other. And considering that you have forsaken all of that, I'm like, okay, Coach, we would expect for you to be strong in the Bible, in your Bible, and not just watching YouTube and not just watching movies. Okay, Coach? But tell us, Coach. Tell us about the movie, Coach. We're all ears.
P2P motivation. Here we go. A couple of days ago, I was watching this movie, and the movie was called Risen. More like the movie was watching me because I fell asleep on it. But I picked up on one part as I was in and out of my naps for real, getting my rest. But I picked up on this one part in the movie where, because the movie was about Jesus, and they had
Tim talks about it was some governor, Pontius Pilate, or somebody, and I'm like, oh, hold on now, Pastor Tim, hold on, Pastor Tim. All right, you're supposed to be teaching your flock, your woeful Tim worshipers. How are they going to stay on their knees if they can't count on you for a proper education in the ways of the Bible? Okay, in the ways of the Scripture. How are they going to count on you? Okay, how are they going to worship at your feet the way that they already do? How are they going to keep that up, Coach? Okay, when you're not strong in your biblical facts, Coach. Okay, you had at least 7 years behind bars to study up on that Bible. Okay, and I guess you've had another 6 or 7 years since to continue with the word. Okay, Coach. And so for you to be so weak, for you to be so shaky about the historical facts pertaining to the Bible, Coach, is a little bit scary. For the rest of us, it's scary. Okay, I guess for your Ready Tim riders, they're riding. Either way, they're riding, Coach. I guess it won't matter for them.
Pontius Pilate or somebody or some governor, I think it was Pontius Pilate, that was researching the crucifixion of Jesus. And so in this movie, Jesus had risen, and they were spreading rumors that somebody had came and stole the body of Jesus.
Tim or Pastor Tim or ex-Pastor Tim, whatever you guys want to call him, the chosen one, the anointed one. Come on out. He doesn't even know his Bible. Watch the video. Watch the video. Okay? You woeful Tim worshipers, watch the video. He doesn't even know his Bible facts. Okay, but he talks about the fact that you guys already know the story about Jesus dying and rising on the third day. You guys already know the story. And I'm like, hold on. Now, this is supposed to be IAG. It's supposed to be all about God. Okay, you're supposed to be winning souls. Okay, you're supposed to be you're supposed to be building up disciples. Okay? And so how in the world can you count on the fact that your viewers already know the story of Jesus? All right? Aren't you supposed to be introducing them to Jesus? Isn't that part of your role? Okay, obviously everyone is not at the same place in their walk with Christ. Okay, you as a former pastor, you of all people should know that. Okay, the other day you talked about the altar call. Okay, and you know much of the altar call is for folks to come down, for folks to want to give their lives over to Jesus. Okay, for folks to make an attempt to be saved. Okay. And so who did you think those altar calls were referring to? I mean, obviously there are Christians that come down for the altar calls, but you have some other folks that are, okay, they're new to the whole situation. They want to know more about Jesus, okay? And how they can walk like Jesus, how they can walk with Jesus. And so how in the world do you get on here on an IAG, supposedly all about God podcast, and tell them, hey, you guys already know the story of Jesus. I'm not going to bother you guys with that story. What? Where's the education in this? Okay, I thought part of these podcasts was to motivate and inspire folks. Okay, and educate folks. Education is part of it, yes? Okay, a lot of people draw motivation after they've been educated. Yes, they educate and then they go off and they do the work. Okay, they're inspired and they go off and they do the work. And so you're saying, don't even worry about the details of the Jesus stuff. If you guys don't already know about that, then that's your problem. It's not my problem. I want to focus on the movie. All right, Coach, tell us more.
And so they were going around looking for the disciples, and they were trying to figure out where the disciples were at and trying to, build this court case to prove that Jesus hadn't risen, all that type of stuff. Y'all know the story, because we know the real story is that Jesus rose again, like he died on the cross, rose, stayed in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, rose on the third day. And if we believe in Jesus, we have access to eternal life. But y'all know the real story.
Tim talks about how the movie got him excited. I thought that the word of God, the biblical word of God was supposed to get you excited. Okay, I thought that the word of God was supposed to be like fire shooting up in your bones. Okay, not shutting off your bones like you referred to previously, Coach. Your nonsense. Okay, but I thought the word was supposed to get you excited. You talking about how this movie got you excited? Okay, and why in the world would you be more excited about a movie than you are about the word? Okay, if you're spending any true time with that word, any significant time with that word, you should be excited on a daily basis. Generally speaking, on a moment by moment basis. But I understand that your current state of depression, of course, is suppressing any chance you have at excitement over the word. Okay, either that or you're not spending much time with it. We do understand that your anxiety is overriding some of your joy, the joy that you thought would come as you were accumulating this new equipment and all these new toys out there. You thought a certain level of excitement and a certain level of accomplishment that you thought would accompany that equipment. Obviously, it has not come. Okay, you can name them whatever you want to name them. Okay, you can name them Ernest. You can name them, what do you have out there? You can name them Outlaw. You can name them whatever you want to name them. Old Faithful, Rooster, whatever you want to name them. Hema. Okay, but obviously you have not gotten the fulfillment that you thought you were going to get from accumulating these material possessions, these material assets, Coach. And so as such, we do understand that you have trouble being excited, truly being excited. Okay, and that's just a symptom of depression. It's a symptom, Coach. And if you were willing to leave those farm gates in a manner that you don't allow Megan to leave, I mean, you only allowed her to leave and get professional attention because of her state of her hernia. And we know you only allowed that because your viewers were drawing attention to her hernia. Back when they said, is she pregnant? Okay. And so we know that's the only reason why you let Megan seek out professional assistance, professional advice, professional help. And so in your case, coach, with your depression, with your anxiety, your clear depression, your clear anxiety, coach, at this point, you yourself obviously need some professional help. All right. We do understand that you claimed to raise the dead in the past. He said it. He said it. Go back and watch the videos, you Woeful Tim worshipers. But we know you claimed to raise the dead in the past. I guess you healed Megan of her sickle cell. You claim that you healed people while you were in Jackson on your walking by faith attempts or efforts or hustle, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and so I'm sure you think, well, I can just lay hands on myself in order to cure myself of this depression. But good gracious, coach, they say nothing from nothing leaves nothing, coach. All right. If you're not strong in your word, you can lay your hands on yourself all you want, coach. Okay. If you're not truly walking with God, you can lay your hands. You can ha, 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 ha. You can lay your hands all you want, coach. It's not going to make a difference. All right. And so clearly you're going to need some type of mental attention. You're going to need some type of mental assistance, coach. But good luck with it, coach. Good luck with it.
But let's talk about the movie, because I picked up on a part that was like super exciting. Like, I want to say it got me crunk. You know what I'm saying? Got me super excited and got me ready to, like, you know, take on any like force that tries to come against us. And so they ended up finding one of the.
Tim goes on and he's giving us the fine detail of this movie that he watched. Really, the pastor is focusing on a movie. He does realize that those movies are scripted. Okay. Obviously much more than the IAG scripts, okay? But clearly movies are scripted. They're produced. They're executive produced, okay? They're directed, okay? And they're dramatized. Obviously, there's a certain amount of dramatization that has to be added on in order to capture the attention of the viewers, okay? And so I'm glad, Coach, I'm glad that you were excited. But certainly, you with years and years of opportunity to get into your word, you should have been excited. Aside from a movie, coach, aside from a movie, you should have been excited, coach. Okay, you should not be surprised about Bartholomew's answer, coach. All right, just like we've come to not be surprised about certain things that come out of your mouth, coach. Okay, all right. After a while, you expect the unexpected, and sometimes you expect the expected. All right, coach. But do tell, coach. Tell us more.
Please do it, because I'm not even worthy to be alive. Like, crucify me like you crucified my Lord. You know, he was super excited about facing persecution, but they ended up not killing him. But what they did say was they asked him a question, and they said, "Where are the rest of the disciples?" And I'm talking about, I wasn't expecting his answer to be what it was. But
Coach continues to focus on this movie, this production. Okay, coach. We do understand that for you, IAG has become a grand production. Okay, and so we do understand that oftentimes you lose touch with reality in your efforts to stretch the truth. Okay, in your efforts to add some type of drama or excitement into your IAG or Resurrection Ranch videos. We do understand that you've lost touch. But you continue to focus on this movie, and you're talking about, well, I'm talking about the movie. I'm not talking about the Bible. Like, okay. When do we set the Bible to the side so that we can focus on the movie? When does that happen? When does that happen? And you're talking about Bartholomew walks up to one of his captors, and you're like, I don't know who it was. And I'm like, hold on, coach. Now, even if you didn't know who it was, you could have done a little bit of research, coach. All right, a little bit of research. Or some YouTube and type research, coach, to find out exactly who he walked up to. And you're like, okay, well, I don't know who it was. I don't care who it was. I'm doing a movie review. This is a movie review. I'm like, okay, coach, is this what it has come to? Now you're doing movie reviews, coach. What next? We talking about Spider-Man 8, Spider-Man 9. Are you going to do a review of Spider-Man? And say, hey, guys, let me tell you guys about this movie I watched the other day. Let me tell you guys about this Spider-Man. This Spider-Man had webs coming out of his wrist. He had webs coming out of his wrist. and you ready Tim riders, you guys, if you guys send me more tips, more gifts, and more offerings, you too can have webs coming out of your wrist. What? You guys too, you can walk on walls, yes? Okay? You can walk on walls. Jesus walked on water, yes? You guys can walk on walls. Like, okay, coach, is this really what it has come to? For these P2P nodcasts, okay? No substance. Now you have to borrow other folks' substance. We knew that your motivational speeches were being plagiarized from other accomplished motivational speakers. We already knew that. Okay, but now you're adopting movies and you're reviewing the movies and you're using that for motivation for your particular viewers, coach. They can watch the movies themselves, coach. They don't need the P2P nodcast for that, coach. But all right, coach, tell us more.
Literally, he walked up to whoever that was questioning him, Pontius Pilate or whoever that was in the movie. Like I said, I'm going based off the movie, not the actual Bible. But whoever that was questioning him in the movie.
Tim, in his jubilation, his excitement, he's talking about how Bartholomew walked up into one of his captors or one of his prison guards and whispered in his ear, because he asked him, where are the other disciples? And he walked up to him and he whispered in his ear. And I'm like, okay, coach, you have to realize that's a dramatization. Okay. That's just like when you were in prison, you walking up to one of your guards and whispering in his ear. Okay. How far would you get? How close would you get to that guard? Even to the point where you're whispering in his ear, coach. Come on now. It just doesn't happen. It's a dramatization, coach. Don't get you got that childlike excitement, coach. All right. It does not happen. All right. But tell us more, coach. We're listening.
Movie, he walked up to him smiling and he got right by his ear and he whispered, because remember now, the question was, where are the rest of the disciples? And Bartholomew walked up smiling, got right in his ear and said, everywhere. Because they were looking for 11. They were looking for 12 disciples or 11 disciples at that time, because Judas Iscariot had committed suicide. And so they were looking for the other 11 disciples.
Tim talks about how Bartholomew, he implied that the disciples were everywhere. They had multiplied. And that was admirable. And for one reason or another, I'm not sure why, my coach is beating his chest. I'm like, okay, coach, you have not created any disciples. Which disciples have you created? Are you referring to Junior, Titus, Noah, Benjamin? Are you referring to Megan? Are you referring to Grandma Lily? Okay, which disciples have you created? Which disciples have you fostered? Okay, don't slap your chest, all right? Maybe Bartholomew can slap his chest. I'm saying, oh, there's 7,000. There's 70,000. Maybe he can slap his chest, coach. All right, but you don't deserve to do any chest slapping, coach. All right, you haven't created any disciples. Okay, you force certain things on your boys, on Megan, and to some extent on Grandma Lily. Okay, but you haven't fostered any disciples. All right, coach. So we're not seeing the connection here. What's the connection? Okay, you're talking about other folks, coach. This is your nodcast. Tell us about yourself, coach. How about that? How about that?
Became 70,000 and on and on and on. It's like they had went ye therefore and made disciples, like they were making more like themselves. They were being fruitful and multiplying. For real. The question was,
Tim talks about how he's glad that he is one of the disciples. Now, Tim, finally giving credit to someone other than yourself. Okay, whoever pulled you to the side when you were in prison and helped you to get a little bit more on the straight and narrow. Okay, not completely on the straight and narrow. Okay, but whoever pulled you to the side in prison and got you to stop cussing or stop shanking or stop stealing or whatever, stop misleading and stop trying to con or scam. Whoever pulled you to the side, stop robbing, okay. Whoever pulled you to the side, yes, okay. They did create a supposed disciple, okay? Especially when you first got out and you were doing your walk by faith ministry. However shallow it was, okay? However intentional it was, however monetarily driven it was, okay? That person created a disciple. But now in your case, coach, you're supposed to pay it forward. Okay, I know you do not understand what that means, but you can look it up, coach. You can even YouTube it, coach. Go ahead and YouTube it. We know how you spend 20 or more hours a day. Okay, there's only 24 hours in a day. I'm aware of that. Remember, he said he only does like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. Okay, the rest of the time is YouTube. All right, so even though we know you spend 20 hours per day involved with YouTube related pursuits, look it up, coach. What does it mean to pay it forward? Okay, coach. There's another phrase that's called each one, teach one. Okay, coach. Okay, so your prison mate, he created a disciple out of you. Somewhat of a disciple, at least initially in Jackson. Not anymore. That's long gone. Way in the past, coach. Actually, way in the past. You ready 10 writers. You heavy 10 followers. It's way in the past. Look it up. Okay. But coach, you're supposed to actually try to create some disciples. Pay it forward. Continue the work, coach. Continue the work. But I guess you're happy with the fact that you were a disciple at one point. At least somebody did their job, coach. Now, what about you? You just change the seasons. You say, okay, I'm not creating any more disciples. We changed the season on that. God said, put a halt on discipleship. Put a halt on it. Put a halt on ministry work. Put a halt on spreading my word. What kind of God would do that? What kind of God would say that? Put a halt on it and just focus on accumulating material assets and wealth. What kind of God? We're listening, Tim. What kind of God, Tim?
Like I say, in and out. The movie was watching me. But when that scene right there happened, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. For real. And I'm so glad that I'm one of those disciples. I'm so glad that the Lord set me free from the things that had me bound. And I want you to be set free from those.
Tim talks about being peculiar, and I guess being set aside. Okay, but that did not refer to you isolating yourself in some cult-like situation. Okay, on some cult-like compound. Okay, that's not what being peculiar refers to. You talk about people being lunatics, and I'm like, okay, coach, there you go, projecting again, coach. Okay, that medical attention that we talked about you seeking out, some type of counseling, some type of psychologist or psychiatrist type of medical attention that you may be needing more and more these days, coach. We do hope that you seek it out and don't take this lunatic as far as it being reasonable for you to carry on as a lunatic, as that being acceptable. It's not acceptable out there in the real world, considering that you're locked behind the gates. You may say, well, whatever I say goes inside here. So I can be a lunatic inside these gates. Okay. But you talk about people being set free, coach. And I'm like, okay, coach. You went into prison because you were robbing and stealing and banging, coach. And by all accounts, you left the banging behind. It's highly debatable on whether you've left the stealing behind. Okay. And considering that some of your donors are senior citizens, many of your donors, I don't know, maybe most of your donors are senior citizens. Some people would imply that the robbing has continued, coach. Okay. And so they would say, well, you haven't truly been set free. Okay. You got set free from the physical prison, as you call it, the other physical prison. So you were set free from the bars. Okay. But as far as some of your habits and some of your behaviors, okay, some of your manipulation, okay, you're still bound by those, coach. And until we see otherwise, coach, until you show us otherwise, not until you just tell us otherwise. Okay, coach? Don't just talk about it, coach. Okay? At some point, you need to start being about it, coach. Okay? I'd like to think that it's never too late. Okay? Especially with God. It's never too late. You like to play around with God. You like to play around with Jesus for your financial gain. Okay? You like to play around with God, use the name of God, the IAG. You like to use that name in order to line your pockets, coach. Okay? And so even with you playing around with God, you're not the first. You won't be the last. But fortunately, coach, it's never too late. It's never too late to change the season on this nonsense, this deception, this misleading of your followers, this misleading of your supporters, coach. It's never too late. Fortunately, it's never too late, coach. But the clock is ticking, coach. The clock is ticking.
Those things as well. Whatever has you bound, you can be free. Whom the Son sets free will be, shall be, and is free indeed. And all you have to do is become one of those disciples. For real. Become one of those followers of Jesus. Become one of those lunatics, one of those people that they think is crazy, one of those people that doesn't blend in with the world. The Bible calls us peculiar. You know what I'm saying? A holy nation called out of darkness into
Tim talks about taking your lamp and not putting it under the table, putting it on top of the table. Okay, coach, that implies that others see the light. We're not just talking about your woeful Tim worshipers seeing the supposed light. Okay, we're not just talking about some mythical YouTube ministry. Okay, you've locked the gates. You've isolated the family. You've shunned the congregation. You've separated yourself from any type of fellowship, coach. And so when you talk about people seeing the light or seeing the lantern, how would they possibly see the light? Forget about the fact that you don't have anything to shine. You don't have anything to shine about at this point. Okay. I mean, what are you going to show them? You're going to show them your auger, your trailer. You're going to show them your cattle hauler, your zero turn, your side by side. What actually are you going to be showing them at this point, coach? What light? Okay, that's not the light that the Bible refers. That's not the light. Look at all these material items, these unfulfilling material items, okay, that have me depressed on a regular basis, that have built up so much insecurity in me that I'm threatened by my own wife. And to some extent, I'm threatened by my own mama. I'm threatened by my own mama because she would not let me fully have my way with her. Even though she signed that contract, even though I thought that I could control her for life, my own mama, she resisted. Okay. But coach, we haven't seen anything. We haven't even seen the glimmer in your case. All right, coach. But at least it sounds good. It certainly sounds good, coach. Tell us more.
God's marvelous light so that we can proclaim the praises of him who called us out of darkness and into this light. We don't take our lamp and set it under the table, but we take our lamp and we set it on top of the table and we let it shine bright so that people can see our light and glorify our Father in heaven. We are the salt of the earth. You know what I'm saying? And we're not.
Tim talks about how he wants to stay stout. He wants to stay tasteful. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Going into the reaction channel comment areas and leaving hateful remarks. That's not tasteful. Okay. Hating upon the supposed haters. Okay. Spewing negativity. Spewing insults at the reactors and at their subscribers and their viewers. That's not tasteful, coach. Look it up, coach. We know you in literacy. We know you have some shakiness when it comes to literacy, coach, but look it up. That's not tasteful. You talk about how you want to be on fire. You want to stay on fire for the Lord. And I'm like, coach, that fire for everyone that has been viewing IAG for more than a few months. Okay. We know that fire went out years ago. Okay. We know that it was a financially fueled fire back in the day, back in Jackson. When you're trying to poach congregations and you are joining multiple churches solely for the purpose of trying to recruit membership for your own ministry. Okay. We know that fire went out way back then, coach. And so you're talking about staying on fire. And this gets back to the fact that these P2P motivations, they're clearly motivations just for my coach, Tim. They're for him. Okay. You guys can send the tips and the donations. But as far as the actual words within the speeches, they're really for my coach, okay? When he talks about staying on fire, he's talking about trying to rekindle his fire. And as far as what he should be doing, Now, will it actually happen? We'll believe it when we see it. We'll believe it when we see it. Because money clouds things, okay? Money affects people's judgment. Case in point, okay, Coach, we have not forgotten how you shifted from IAG, not-for-profit, to going to be a Resurrection Ranch, LLC, for-profit company. We haven't forgotten about that, Coach. And so we know that money changes things, money clouds things. And certainly the love of money, Coach. You talk about accumulating more and more money, okay? We do know that that implies a certain love/lust for money. And we know that, of course, the love of money is the root of all evil. Even a child, even a babe in the word knows that, Coach. Even a babe knows that. But all right.
Trying to lose our flavor. We're trying to stay like poignant. We're trying to stay stout, or what's the word I'm looking for? We're trying to stay like tasteful. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to stay on fire for the Lord. And we want to be able to say, like when they say they're everywhere, where are the disciples? When they say they're everywhere, I want that to be talking about me as well. You know what I'm saying? And I want to do just like the 11 did, because if the 11 can go and make more disciples in that time when there was heavy persecution, now we live in this country, at least for the ones who live in America.
All right, that's it. That's it for my reaction to that recent P2P nodcast where Tim talks about being fruitful and multiplying. Okay, all right. Please chop it up in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Burner Tim, Heavies, I'll meet you in the comments as usual. I want to shoot out some love to my current subscribers. Thank you for showing me that love. I do appreciate it. For those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing so that we can continue to shine that light. Until next time.